Hello and welcome to another episode of me reacting to fan-made cards I found online. Today I will be reacting to 8 fan-made corporations, all of them created by Jenemai, a Reddit user. As always, the original post is linked down below. Definitely check it out, leave him an upvote, and you can also leave your opinions on these corps down there. And he actually created 16 fan-made corporations, but 16 fan-made corporations would be too much for one episode. So I will be going over the first 8 of them and then probably the next 8 in the next episode. So let's hop right in and start with the first corporation, which is called Astralwide. It starts off with 53 MC, which immediately is very good. It's close to where like Credit Core and Lakefront Resort and Terracta are, so that's pretty significant amount of starting cash. And you can also place 3 asteroids on this card. So what do these asteroids do? First of all, in the production phase, you always get 1 asteroid to this card. And then when playing an event card, you can spend asteroids here to gain 4 MC. So basically, this corp starts off with 53 plus 12, and this 12 can only be used for events, which gets you up to 65 MC, which is almost at IC level, but IC's starting capital is much more inflexible, with most of it, more than half of it, only being able to be used for building tax. And here, like only a small part, like a fifth of it, roughly, can only be used for events. And there are a lot of events in the game. Let me just quickly check out how many of the cards are events. So if we look at only base game, we have 208 cards and 37 of them. So definitely more than 10%. 37 divided by 208 is, yeah, that's 17.7% are event cards. And each production phase you get 1 more asteroid, which is basically 4 MC prod, but the 4 MC prod can only be used for event. So this is basically like minerals at that point, but instead for building tax or space tax, it's for events. Let's compare this to space tax. There's 42 space tax versus 37 event tax. So there's more space tax than event tax, and of course more building tax. There's 67 building tax. So it makes sense that this is worth more than titanium or steel, because there are more building tax in the base game and there are more space tax in the base game than event tax. But events are also pretty good, and you want to play a lot of them. Like the space events are great, and then there are also a few cheap events that are great. But there are also some cheap events that cost less than 4 MC, and then you waste some money on them. Still, I think this is a pretty good card. Of course, there's also some synergy potential with cards that let you place asteroids on other cards, but they are so few and far between. Like, what cards let you place asteroids? The thing is, they are usually hard to find, because if you look for asteroid on the card list, then you can get a lot of space events that just have asteroid in their name, something like Big Asteroid, for example, or NRA. You could use directed impactors together with this. You could use comet aiming, but the thing is, comet aiming is such an expensive card, and the asteroids on there are definitely worth more than 4 MC, because they let you place oceans. Something like that. Something like asteroid rides could be also used with that. But again, I think the asteroids on asteroid rides are more useful than the asteroids on this corp, because they give you 2 titanium or C prod. So yeah, asteroid, even without synergy, I think is pretty good. It's just a very rich corp with income. So yeah, I think it's solid. It has synergy potential, but not really, because most cards that let you place asteroids on other cards could make use of those asteroids better than Astralwide, and this corp doesn't let you place asteroids on other cards. But yeah, strong corp. Don't don't think it's like particularly broken, but it's definitely great economy-wise. Let's get to the next corp, which is Beyond. And this one looks quite complicated. So it's called Beyond. It starts with 43 MC, which is average. So it says each time you raise TR 5 times, gain 2 of the above resources. So basically, once you're at 25 TR, or once you reach 30 TR or 35 TR, so you start off with 20, obviously, then you get 2 out of these. And I guess 2 means that you can pick, for example, 2 titanium and 4 MC, or 2 titanium and 2 microbes, or 2 plants and 1 atom. First of all, this is significantly weaker in Turmoil, where you lose 1 TR every gen. In the base game, where you often rush, this can be quite strong. Especially in a rush game plan, this can be really strong. Like, just imagine you reach 25 TR and you just pick 2 plants and 4 heat. That will help you rush even faster. Or like the titanium is probably also really, really nice if you have space events on hand. But it can also be useful in engine setups where you get TR in some other way. You can pick animals or floaters for easy points at the end. What I wonder is, can I take an effect twice? So if I reach 25 TR, can I pick 8 MC, for example? I think that would need to be clarified because it doesn't really state it here. But how much will this realistically give you? Let's say you take MC and titanium. That's 10 MC worth of resources. And in a typical game, you will maybe reach like 40 TR. So you will get the bonus at 25, at 30, at 35, and at 40. So 4 times. 4 times 10 MC is 40. So yeah, it can be strong. I think this, yeah, it can be strong, but I don't know. The starting capital is quite low. Yeah, in a rush setup, it could be really good with preludes. Like, if you start the game with a great Aquifer and Jenemai Contractor, you immediately start with 25 TR and can get like 2 titanium and 4 MC. That would be pretty insane. And yeah, in a rush setup in general, it's quite good. It's hard to evaluate because it's so flexible and it really depends on your game plan. But as I said, in the rush it's good, in Turmoil it's definitely weaker than without that expansion. But yeah, interesting concept. Really, really flexible. Next up, we have Cellulon. So this starts with 50 MC in the plant prot. And it has an effect that says after you add a resource to another card, add a bacteria here, and you may spend 3 bacteria here as if they were 1 plant. So let's say you play tardigrades, you use tardigrades and put a microbe on there, you automatically get a resource on Cellulon as well, which is called a bacteria, and these bacteria can then be used as plants. So this is a different this is a different resource than microbes. Otherwise, you could use like extreme cold fungus with this, but extreme cold fungus with this would be absolutely horrendous because 2 microbes, you could put 2 microbes on here, which wouldn't be a plant because you would need a 3rd one, and you could just use extreme cold fungus for a plant directly, which is already bad. So cards that would allow you to place resources on here would be bad, but there are none. Like maybe CEO's favorite project could be used to put resources on here, but obviously you wouldn't want that. So these bacteria are really, really weak because you need 3 of them for plants. That's what I want to say. But you can get them from so many different sources. Like if you're playing with colonies and there's like Enceladus and Titan in play, you could trade 1 gen to Titan, the other gen to Enceladus, get a lot of floaters and microbes, put them on cards which can already score quite well or help you out economically or whatever, and passively you will gain these bacteria. and they can be used as plants. And the great thing about them is that they cannot be killed off as easily as plants. So if in exchange, if this corp said whenever you if this corp somehow gave you the equivalent in plants directly without these bacteria, it would be worse, because then you would have the plants on your resource counter, and opponents could play Demos down or GIA and just destroy your plants. As long as the bacteria are on Cellulon, it's really hard to remove them. I don't think there are any cards that let you remove random resources from your opponent. Either it's like animals or microbes, but it never says you can remove any resource. So basically the bacteria on Cellulon are safe from getting destroyed, and you can just stack them there until you have enough that together with your real plants you can get a greenery out. So it's a really, really safe way of getting plants and converting them into greeneries. But it heavily depends on what cards you get. You don't want to play bad resource collecting cards just for Cellulon, because the payoff is so low. So a card like NRB that without synergy is pretty bad. I wouldn't want to play that as Cellulon just because I'm Cellulon. I mean, you play it, you immediately get 3 bacteria because NRB starts out with 3 microbes, but I don't think that would be worth it for Cellulon. It definitely makes the card better, but not by much, because it's such a slow way of gaining plants. But yeah, the corp starts with 50 MC, which is already good, and then plant prod is also useful. Microbe tag is so-so. If you're playing on Elysium, this definitely has a lot of value because of Ecologist. But yeah, the effect is very interesting. I like it. It doesn't make really bad cards good. There are really, really bad floater cards in Minus Next, for example. Maybe NRB wasn't the best example, because that one can actually be good if you have some combo potential. But there's cards like Extractor Balloons or Forced Precipitation. Those are really, really shitty, and they don't become good because of Cellulon. But it's definitely an interesting concept. So let's get to the next corp, which is called Cosmic Mind. And nice, it has a science tag, which I like. I love my science tags. It starts with 48 MC and 4 energy, which is immediately interesting. And then the effect says, when playing a card, you may spend 2 energy or 4 MC to play it as if you had 2 wild tags. Okay, so in addition to the cost of the card, you may spend 2 energy. You already start with 4 energy, or 4 MC on top of the cost of the card, I said. And then you can basically ignore 2 of its tag requirements. So you could play AGT at 5 science tags, and you already have 1. So basically, you know already where this is going. And yeah, basically that. It also triggers like insects, NRA, terraforming Ganymede, because yeah, like basically you instantly have 2 plant tags if you play insects. You just have to spend 4 MC or 2 energy on top of the card price. And this also means that you can, if you have Power Pro on your starting hand, instantly play AI Central, because you have a science tag and then 2 more with this effect. The card will cost 4 more, or you could use 2 of your energy here, which I think you are meant to do. But it's definitely worth it. And I think this corp is crazy. Especially if you get, like, if you start the game off with Mass Converter and maybe 2 more science tags, then you can get Mass Converter down easily, and you will have plenty of power to use your ability and not have to spend 4 MC in the future. Really, really interesting concept. Super strong, especially for, I would say, AI Central, NRA, because you only need 1 more plant tag. Mass Converter, as I said, Terraforming Ganymede as well, AGT. So yeah, like even cards like Cartel immediately get so much better. I would happily spend 4 MC to get 2 more prot out of Cartel. If you think about it, one MC prod is roughly worth 4.5 MC, right? So sponsors costs 9 in total to play, gives you 2 MC prod. So 9 divided by 2 means that 1 MC prod is basically 4.5 MC. And here, if you play Cartel, you get 1 MC prod for 2 MC. So yeah, Cosmic Mind is really, really strong in my opinion. Allows you to really abuse a lot of really strong combo cards without actually having the combos to play them. I think this is insane and would be really fun to play, I think. Let's get the next card though. It's called Ascoli. And I remember this one. It starts off with 48 MC, which is slightly above average, not too great though. It's the same amount, for example, as Thorgate, and you never think of Thorgate as a particularly rich corp. It has a science tag, which of course I like, and then you get global discounts, but only if you reach these thresholds. So once you reach 6% oxygen, or once the game reaches 6% oxygen, you get a discount on all cards of -1 MC. And this can stack with these other 2 thresholds. So at -14 degrees, you get another -1 MC discount, and at 4 oceans, you get another -1 MC discount. So basically, the early game, this corp doesn't have anything. It has average or slightly above average starting capital. It has a science tag, which is definitely a really, really good tag, but doesn't help you rush up the tracks. Science tags are for long game, and it doesn't help you in any combos that help you increase the tracks here, except maybe play Mass Converter to increase the heat. But then in the mid to late game, this corp can really, really pop off because it gets to -3 on all cards. And if you think about it, -3, it's basically Earthcat plus Research Outpost. And an opponent with Earthcat and Research Outpost in the late game is super scary. Because in the late game, when you possibly have card draw down and a good economy, -3 means you can play so many more cards. It's insane. And if you stack this with the other global discounts, you could possibly get to -8 on all cards, which would be in the base game. In the expansions even more, with something like Skydogs. So this could get out of hand super fast. So really strong in my opinion. And I never know if I want more global discounts in the game. Especially on project cards though, because if your opponent has card draw, he has a higher chance of drawing into global discounts, and that will then combo with card draw as well, because he can play cards more cheaply and has more cards, and this can get can be a circle of self-fulfillment and get stronger and stronger and stronger. And yeah, so I don't know if you need more global discounts, but it's definitely an interesting concept, and it's great that it gets unlocked with these tracks, because it's kind of counterintuitive. If you have global discounts, you want a longer game, but you also need to rush the tracks up a little bit to get the global discounts. So it's kind of counterintuitive, works against each other a little bit, and that's what I like about it. It's a really interesting concept. Let's get to Flora Flame, which starts with 44 MC, has a plant and a building tag, super useful. For example, the Prelude Dome farming gets infinitely better because of these 2 tags. The building tag means that on Dome farming, it doesn't apply to this card. You can combo that Prelude with Robotic Workforce, which is super nice. The plant tag is super nice for insects and NRA. This does attribute to this card as well. But the building tag is also great for Builder, for example. So 2 really useful tags. It says when you play a building tag, including this, gain 2 heat. So you start off the game with 2 heat, and then when you play a plant tag, including this, gain 1 plant. You know how much I think menu tag is broken when playing plant tags. It basically, when you play bushes, gives you so many plants that you often can instantly convert. Like if you're at 4 plants with menu tag and you play bushes, you can instantly convert. And this will just help you get off your greenery conversions much more safely. You will leave your opponents less opportunities to destroy your plants. And Flora Flame does this to a lesser extent, because while Manutech gives you 2 instant plants, 2 additional instant plants with bushes, or 3 additional instant plants with trees, Flora Flame will always, with plant tags, give you only 1 instant plant. But like, in addition to working only for plant prot cards, it also works for plant tags that don't normally grant instant plants with Manutech, something like Noctis Farming, for example. And then also the heat is kind of nice. So this corp is definitely really, really good at rushing. The building tag is interesting because usually you don't play too many building tags when you're rushing. Maybe a city or 2, maybe a few early game production cards. But a lot of building tags are not that great for rushing, like the science building tags. Of course, they are super great, but if you're deep into a rush strat, you don't necessarily want to play them. But here they give you 2 instant heat, which can help you get maybe a bonus bump or just finish up the track faster. So Flora Flame, interesting concept. The synergies are kind of wacky, but really, really cool. And it's definitely a great corp for rushing. Starting capital is quite low, but you have a little kickstart here with the 1 plant and 2 heat that you instantly get. And if you have insects or NRA on hand, then this can definitely be super valuable. So I really like the corp. Yeah, I think there's not much more to say about it. Let's get to Infinity Circuit. So this corp starts with a power and a building tag. Starts with 48 MC. Again, that 48 MC that also Thorgate has. And then, interestingly, with 4 heat, 4 energy, and 4 plants. I said it in the wrong direction, but it's okay. I read it down here. Each time you spend 2 heat, energy, or plants, gain 1 steel. I wonder, yeah, it has to work on plant and heat conversions, right? So if you convert 8 plants into a greenery, you gain 4 steel. Is that really what it says here? Or does it, like, there's two possibilities how this could work. Like, it could mean each time you spend 2 plus heat, no matter how much you spend, you get 1 steel. So either you spend 2 heat on something, I don't know what you could spend 2 heat on, or you can spend 6 heat on or something, or 8 or whatever, you always get 1 steel. Or you get 1 steel for every 2 heat you spend. So if you spend 2 heat, you get 1 steel. If you spend 4 heat, you get 2 steel, and so on. I think it's the former. So if you spend 8 heat, you only get 1 steel, because it says if you spend each time you spend 2 plus heat, so no matter how much, at least if it's more than 2, you get 1 steel. But at least if it's 2 or more, you get 1 steel. This works on heat, energy, and plants. So if we think it works that way, you get a steel every time you convert a greenery, you get a steel every time you convert your heat, and you get a steel every time you do like a bumper, you trade, or you use physics complex. I think that's pretty good. I think you also get a free heat conversion in Gen 2, because the power will convert to heat, and then you have 8 and can convert, and you also get a steel for that. If you're playing with colonies and have some power on hand, this corp is top tier, I think, because it basically guarantees free steel all the time. And with heat and plants, you have the opportunity to do that more often as well. If you have more plant or heat prod on hand, this can also be really good. Like if you start off with Mohole area, this corp is also really, really strong. It's an interesting effect. I really hope it means, or it's meant to be, you always get only 1 steel, no matter how much you spend. Of course, if you do 2 heat bumps in a row, like you spend 8 heat on the first heat bump, you get a steal, and then you spend in a separate action 8 heat on another heat bump, you get another steal. That's what I meant basically. Then I think it's balanced, but quite nice. And I like when you get more steal because I think, especially when playing with all expansions, steal is not that strong anymore. So I like corps that synergize with it or give you extra steal or whatever. So yeah, interesting concept again. And I love these corps here in this pack that start off with like power. He had Cosmic Mind as well, which was interesting. Oh, sorry, go back to this one. So you really need to either use the Power Gen 1 for something like Development Center or trading, or you just get a heat bump in Gen 2 in this case. So yeah, really interesting. I like the concept, and yeah, the tags are kind of meh. Like the building tag, of course, is great. As I said earlier, it can be used for builder. Again, this cannot be copied with Robotic Workforce because it doesn't have a production box. But the power tag is mostly useless. There's really not any combo potential for it. But yeah, it could be useful for Diversifier, for example. And then let's get to the last corp of today's video, which is Kasei Sokuden. This one starts again with 48 MC. I think he likes 48 MC. How many corps here? 48 MC? 3, 4. 4 out of 8 corps have 48 MC as starting capital. Interesting. It says here 46 MC, interestingly, but we go with the 48. Also starts with 2 energy prod. Place unused energy onto discard instead of as excess heat. So these 2 energy here from the prod won't be converting to heat in between Gen 2 and 3. They will be placed on discard instead. And then you may spend 12 energy here to place a city tile. Interesting. A city standard project costs 25 MC. And more often than not, city standard projects are considered to be quite bad. If we factor out the MC prod, it also grants. Let's say that is worth 4 MC. Just to have an even number. So the city itself costs 21 MC for the standard project. Power plant costs 4 MC. So 7 MC total. And MC prod is 4.5 MC. So power is roughly 50% more valuable, 55% more valuable. If we take the 12 MC and multiply it with that 18. So yeah, you have a small discount. Basically 12 MC should be worth like 12 power should be worth like 18.7 MC roughly. This is all like on the top of my head here, this calculation. So you have a small discount from the standard project. The thing is, the standard project, as I said, is often not considered to be very good. You sometimes use it in late game if you run out of cards to play, or if your opponent, like if the game is stalling, if you don't want the game to end, you don't want to use your MC to end the game, you rather want to go on another gen, catch up in points, then you can maybe place down city standard projects next to your opponent's greeneries, or you do it in the early game, try to get mayor or whatever. But often it's not a great play. So you would need to have a good discount off of the standard project for it to be valuable. The other thing is that you don't get the option to convert your power into heat. You have to place it on this card. And what if you want to rush and you find like mass converter and you would like to use the mass converter for heat? You cannot do it with this core. The good thing is usually cities are best if the heat stalls out a bit, because then The oxygen track will max out, meaning greeneries will only be scoring well if you also have cities. And then if you play cities, you can score well with your greeneries or just steal the points off of your opponents. And that means if you place a lot of cities, you don't need the heat to be rushing up. So it kind of works well together. But it's a really one-sided cooperation. Like a lot of these other corps had crazy discounts or were able to play combos faster or turn resources into other resources or whatever. This corp can just play cities relatively cheaply, but in exchange loses the ability to use their power as heat, which is an essential part of the game. So I don't think this corp is particularly strong. If this was like 8 power, I would say, Jesus Christ, they can just rush out so many cities. You just put down like Giant Space Mariner Gen 1 and then you can get like a city every other gen, basically. But yeah, I don't think it's very strong with 12 power because it's very one-sided. And if neither you nor your opponent develop a lot of plant prod, then the cities won't be worth much, especially because they don't give you any development. If it's set like, yeah, as I said, 8 for a city or 12 for a city plus 1 MC prod, it could be even more interesting and make this a good early game play as well, not only late game. This corp isn't even that great for Mayor because A, it takes a long time if you don't get a lot of power prod to get these cities down. And B, having the ability to place these cities throughout the mid and late game relatively cheaply with your power also devalues city cards that you could place in the early game. Because it's already a tough decision to play a Cupola City in the early game instead of something like Acquired Company, which gives you the same development much more cheaply. That's already a tough decision. But if you could play Acquired Company in the early game and then use your ability in the mid to late game to just place the city, then why should you play Cupola City in the early game, making you even more, making you even worse on Mayor? If you like get what I mean. But yeah, it's an interesting concept, but in contrast to a lot of these other corps, which I think were really strong, I think Kasei Sokuden is quite weak. And yeah, the only power tag that also doesn't do you any favors. Yeah. But yeah, interesting concept as all of these cards. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video and also if you want to see the next episode where I will discuss the next 8 fan-made corps by this creator, then definitely leave a like, consider subscribing, and please also check out the link in the description with the original post. And yeah, I hope I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one, guys, and goodbye.